Welcome to Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where we seek to thrive, flourish, and celebrate amazing women like yourself. Kimberly Wiggins here, and we are hosting inspired women who are sharing their lives and stories so that other women may know that the journey to their amazing life is definitely within reach. We are here every week to share resources and information that will help you along the journey to being that inspired woman leading an amazing life. Remember to like and comment and most definitely share these episodes with another woman that you admire and one who truly inspires you. Or simply share with someone you would like to inspire. Enjoy. Welcome to Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where my guest today, such a treat, Miss Marlisa Brown. And on Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, what we strive to do is we strive to bring you guests that can enrich your life. And trust me, every woman that I know is going to benefit from this show because Marlisa is bringing so much information about your health and good self-care. So welcome, Marlisa.
Hi.
Hi. Let me give you a little background about who Marlisa Brown really is. She's a registered dietitian, a certified diabetes educator, a chef, author, and a professional speaker. She's worked as president of Total Wellness Incorporated for more than 25 years, providing nutritional counseling to over 22,000 patients. So you know we're getting a treat for free today. Marlisa has given hundreds of presentations. She's authored 6 books and has developed infomercial products for celebrities. In addition, she has hosted a cooking show for the American Heart Association for 5 years and a diabetes cooking show on FOODYTV. Marlisa is a national spokesperson for the American Association of Diabetes Educators, has received many awards, and has served as the past president of the New York State Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds great.
Well, I am so honored to have you. Oh my gosh, you've had such an amazing journey. But before we jump into all of it, let's hear what I know you've been doing this for so long, but what brought you to this? How did you decided you wanted to become a dietitian, and you've been doing all these things with such great causes? What brought you to that?
So it's interesting because, back when I was first going to school, I didn't even know there was a career that you could do that was nutrition and food related. I knew I liked both things, but I went ahead and I got a degree in marketing at that time because my family had a business, and my mother was like, look, do something that's going to help the family, take business. And during that process, while I was going to school, I started to get involved in the culinary arts. I started taking culinary classes. I started going to culinary schools while I was doing my first degree. And I actually ultimately started a catering business at that time.
Wow.
And I was doing this and doing my parties and doing my catering and had my degree and moving along and, moving and shaking and doing everything that would be in that direction. And I started to develop healthier products, like healthier cookies that were sold at some companies and healthier cakes that were sold at another company. And then I got involved with some cardiovascular groups, and I started doing things for those groups. And then somebody said that was involved with the cardiovascular group, well, really, if she's going to be working with our cardiac patients, she really needs to be a registered dietitian. And I really didn't know what that meant at the time or what that involved or how many science classes I would have to take or anything. But I said, okay, I'll do that. That's what I said. So it started. And I started that journey. And it was a lot of work. I mean, going back to school, any of the women can tell you that have gone back to school after being out for a number of years, it's difficult. especially when you have to take all those science classes that are involved. There's a lot of young people in the classes. I may not have been like just taking algebra and I forgot some things, and I'm raising my hand and asking questions, and the kids in the class that are 18 are looking at me like, really? Seriously, why is she here? And I did it. I mean, I went through and I finished the curriculum, and I took my internship, and I became a registered dietitian, and I was ready to work. And that's where the journey started. It seems like a journey already, but that's where it started. I had a job 2 days after I graduated. Somebody that was part of the faculty at the school I was at told me about this job and said I'd be perfect. It was with a big contract food service company as a wellness coordinator, developing corporate events, recipes, marketing, was part of the marketing team. And I took that job, and they said it was only going to be a part-time job, 3 days a week, but it was 3 12-hour days, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the side, I began to start my private practice at the same time. And so that's how it began. Starting out of my apartment, because I had just gotten divorced and I had moved back into my parents' apartment. And when I started this new career, I was getting less money than I had been making before. And, right down, and I kind of coordinated around my apartment and covered things up. And I started seeing patients in that apartment. And that's how it started. And until you get to the office and rent a space and So that was 1994.
And that's how Total Wellness Incorporated was born, huh?
Where I was born. And I worked really, really hard because I figured I was trying to catch up. Because when you're older and you get started again, I know most of the women can relate to me on this. You almost feel like you got to catch up, even though you really have a lot of life experience behind you. When you're restarting, you almost take for granted what you already had. You feel like you're starting fresh. And because you're a little older, you feel like you have to even work harder to get to whatever it was you would have gotten to if you'd started there in the first place. So I was all the time. On the weekends, on Saturday, people would call me and say, "You want to go out?" No, I got work to do. I was sending out proposals to magazines and joining committees. And, I was on the Heart Association committee, and I was on the American Cancer. They had an initiative for breast cancer, and I was doing something with the Kidney Foundation, and I was like everywhere. And that's what I felt was the way I needed to go forward. And I worked really, really, really hard. And I built up a business. I was doing pretty well. Right around 1999, 2000, and I had celebrity counts, which because I talked about the infomercial thing, and I had a proposal on the table for writing, and I was doing the American Heart Association show, and then the World Trade Center knocked me down. I lost about 70% of my business. I was actually supposed to be there that day. People I know that were there, because they had asked me to come into the health fair, and it changed the nature, and I refocused and reformatted my, because you look at things differently when something horrible like that happens. And, I thought I was on a road that was just going to go up, and then I was on my way back down again. And then there's been a lot of journeys that took place in that period that, and I'm sure that so many women have had to do the same thing, where you have to restart again and rebuild. And that's the strength of women, is that we have sometimes the ability to multitask, multi-skill, and restart and rebuild again. And it was a 10-year, 15-year journey. Many things happened in between, but that's where I went to get to where I am, back and forth, up and down, back and forth, up and down, until I got here today.
Nice. That's such a nice journey of growth and development and overcoming and adversity and just perseverance. I just love it. That's, wow, you've had a journey.
Well, the most recent book that I wrote was about life balance. It's got a racy title. Am I allowed to use a racy title a little bit? It's like,
Go right ahead.
It's called Get It the F Together. And then it was Fitness, Family, Fun, and Finance. And in the intro, I told about some absolutely humiliating things that happened to me personally, and then how I got started, and then the tools that I used on my patients that I also used for myself. And I spoke about that because I felt that over time, I have seen that the same tools are utilized in many different ways for all of us to pull ourselves out of the hole and get started again.
Yes, yes. I'm thinking about restarting in a different journey, on a different journey myself. So, yeah, I fully get it. Yeah, and I'm not young anymore, so I feel like but I know I can do it. So I'm
Well, I
not.
think I gotta get a T-shirt that says 60 and sexy or something like that.
Yes, because I'm almost there. Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. So, Marlisa, what you do, and especially, listen, I get it, because I'm an African American woman, and we've got to talk about diabetes and heart disease and obesity, because that really hits home for me, simply because my mom and all of her sisters have passed away from either diabetes or heart disease, and it's just so prevalent in the African American community that we have got to talk about this. Tell us your insights on all of that: diabetes, heart disease, obesity. Tell us.
So I mean, one of the difficult things to a lot of people to grasp is that a lot of the people that have diabetes do end up dying of heart disease. There's a correlation there because the diabetes itself predisposes you to a higher risk of heart disease. And many people that have diabetes, after they have their first heart attack, if they survive that, many of them die within a year, or close to a year after they had that. And again, it's all because of the complications related to diabetes. And because that disease is growing and increasing, not just in African Americans. I had some Hispanic families in here yesterday, and I was saying, those rice and the beans and the plantains and the arepas it is so much starch and there's so much obesity that it just predisposes you to even a higher risk beyond your genetics from the diet itself and the lifestyle itself. I mean, some people that are coming from these beautiful tropical areas, they're not eating any vegetables. I mean, they have the most possibility for vegetables and fresh things there, and they're eating mostly starch and fattier foods and fried foods. And they say, well, I'm using olive oil. Yeah, but you used 3 cups of it. It wasn't just,
Yeah.
So there is some increase of incidence in diabetes because of obesity, but it's not all about obesity. And a lot of the problem comes is that anybody that's got a little bit of size to them, any woman, especially women, because they pick on women's weight more, it seems to be, than men. Okay, unfortunately, but it's across the board that way. And the trend is that if you're a woman of a little bit of size and you go to the doctor, a lot of times the only focus is about your weight. And if you have diabetes, the only focus is about your weight, and all the other lifestyle modification things that have nothing to do with your weight are sometimes just overlooked. Look, if you just lost weight, if you just lost weight, if you just lost weight.
Yes.
And of course, if you're overweight, you're tired of people telling you that. And if the doctor says to you, by the next time you come in, I want you to lose 10 pounds, if you didn't lose 10 pounds, you're not going to that visit. You're not going to go back to that visit, okay, if you didn't lose the 10 pounds. And so we leave it we kind of pigeonhole something and say, this is what we need to do. And there's many things we need to do. And that's the thing I was telling you about life balance. I mean, stress makes your blood sugars go up. Inactivity makes your blood sugars go up. Skipping meals and eating a lot at one time makes your blood sugar go up. Not having a variety of different kinds of foods to make it so the sugar doesn't spike and drop makes your blood sugar go up. And I have people that are thin and exercise all the time and they still have diabetes, so I know it's not just weight. It's not just that. And there are people that take really good care of themselves. They eat healthy and they do lots of exercise, and unfortunately sometimes we even lose people like that to heart disease. There are more factors involved. It's not always just clear and cut. Most of us have a few things that we do that are the worst things for us. We're never going to do all the things. None of us are ever going to do all the things that we need to do to have perfect behavior, health, stress reduction. But if we can isolate the few things that are affecting us the most and change those few things, then we have a chance of having better health, whether it's blood sugar or cholesterol or physical abilities, than anybody else. And I have women that come in here that are very thin, okay, and they're very unhealthy. And I have people that come here that are heavy that are healthy. But it doesn't mean that being thinner might not help them, but they are doing well at where they're at. And so we don't need to label somebody and make them feel bad about themselves. And I always try to ask a person when they come to me, what is the reason that you're here today? What is most important to you? Not what's most important to me. I'm not there to like judge or put on, and I need to know who I am. You had said you're African American. I'm not African American. I can't be telling somebody from another culture how to live their culture because I have to know who I am.
Right.
So they have to tell me what's important to them, and then I can tell them the things that, based on what's important to them, may make it so they have a healthier life. So that's how I usually embrace it when I work with people. And I try to teach coaches and other dietitians and nurses the same thing. Because overall, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things. Yes, drink a lot of water. Yes, you need to exercise. Yes, it helps if you lose weight. Yes, it helps if you have high blood pressure, if you have a little less sodium. Yes, it helps if you have high cholesterol, if you keep away from saturated fat, fried foods, cheeses, full fat dairy, fatty meats. Yes, it does. But what are the things that's going to help that person in front of you? That's the thing that's most important.
Good points there, Marlisa. I agree with that. Yeah, when I go to the doctor, and because I'm, I have a family history of it, so that's always on the radar. And it's funny, I have a woman doctor. She will always say, oh, you gained a few pounds. Watch that. It's like,
yeah, like you didn't know that. Like you didn't know that before you went there. Like you going in there, you're trying to button up your thing. You didn't know. Okay, that's like a new thing. It's like you to tell you that. Hello, I knew that before I got here.
Yes, and that always makes me feel like, oh, and so I've kind of developed this almost paranoia about, diabetes and not wanting, I'm like, I don't want that to be my story. And so I've got to stay as thin as possible. And I'm always trying to lose 10 pounds. I'm always trying to lose 10 pounds, Marlisa, because of that.
You're chasing like a dog chasing your tail. It's like it never ends. It's just always.
Yes. And so what are your best tips for women just without having to live this regimented life that there's no fun left in food because you're living this regimented life? I know you mentioned the Hispanic couples that came in and, they love rice. I'm from the South. I love rice. So I used to feel like I had to have rice with almost every meal. And so what do you recommend for people to not feel like they have this battle with food? And
so the thing that's most important about food is it's a completely part of our life. It's part of our culture, every culture. It's part of family. It's involved everywhere. If you make it like where there's good and bad food, you're always going to feel bad about having something that's not what you think is on the good list. Mm-hmm. So it's okay. First is permission. It's okay to have something once in a while. And when you have something once in a while, it's a treat. When you have it all the time, then it's a cheat.
I like that.
So like somebody will say to me, like, so let's say I'm looking at their journal. And people, it's funny how people write journals. If they have fried chicken, they just write chicken. But if they have grilled chicken, they write grilled. But the fried chicken, they don't put the fried in front of it. It's like these little things that they do, and they write it.
Yeah. So
it's just, and then if you ask somebody that's Hispanic, and I know this across the board because I have a lot of Hispanic patients, I'll say, how much rice do you have? They tell me a teaspoon.
Yes. I always say, just a little bit, but no.
So then I have these paper plates, those cheap ones that you can't eat on it. So, and I take it out and I give them a pen. I say, here's your pen. I say, I want you to draw how much rice. And then if it's a mother and it's a husband and a wife, or a mother and a son, and they draw the little thing, the wife or the husband, they look over and they laugh. They go, like even if they don't speak English, you know what I'm saying? They get it right away, and they're like, get out of here. That is not the amount of rice that you are having. And then we're like, so what I'll do is I work on the dilution. So first of diets, I have my own acronym for diets. Okay.
Okay.
Right? For dieting, it's even a different acronym. So I'll read the whole thing to you because it's pretty funny. It's mine, everybody. I created it. So It's dieting, ready? Deprived, individual, eating, torture, eternally revisited. That's dieter. And the thing is about diets is that we look at it as a bad thing, but diet really all it implies is what you eat. And so therefore, if we can find a way that you can eat where you can include some treats, but not make them into cheats, and that you can have things in a variety of things by like kind of diluting the higher calorie, higher fat, dangerous foods with foods that are healthier. So for example, some people will eat something that's just healthy and somebody else will be like, I can't do that. So let's like say spaghetti squash, which is a vegetable, okay? Somebody will say, well, I eat spaghetti squash, and somebody else will be like, well, I don't like that. That just tastes like spaghetti. But if you take the spaghetti squash and you mix it with spaghetti, it all tastes like spaghetti. You don't taste the spaghetti squash.
Ah, I didn't realize that.
It's very good. It's a really good trick. But you can do this with a lot of foods. And so what happens is now you have diluted the intensity of the carbohydrate from the pasta. You have expanded the size of your plate so it doesn't look so small. You've increased the fiber, so you're not going to be able to eat as much, and you included a healthy food as part of the diet. So we could dilute across the board. We could put zucchini noodles with pasta, with fettuccine noodles, or we could put cauliflower rice in with regular rice, or we could put mashed cauliflower in with mashed potatoes if you don't like just mashed cauliflower. Or I could make spaghetti and clam sauce and throw in a lot of broccoli and have spaghetti and clam sauce, but this like half the plate is really broccoli. And so by diluting the food with a healthier food, we're able to eat the things that we like and not make it a point of deprivation. So that's one of the techniques that I like to use. I also like to try to not look at things as good or bad. We all go up and down. We all do things that are not the way we're supposed to. If I look at the journal and somebody has like pizza on one day, and I say pizza, they go, oh, I don't have that every day. And then the next day they have lasagna, and then the next day they have fried chicken, and then the next day they have sausage. Then it's like, yes, you don't eat the same food over and over. You eat bad food many times, but you eat so many things. Let's find a way to incorporate healthier foods. I mean, even started Facebooking on dieting dietitian, because I'm a dieting dietitian. So on vegetable ideas and ways of incorporating vegetables, because even people that like healthy foods, they don't eat them. They tell me it's too much work, it's too much time, and there's tricks and trades of the trade that, especially being the fact that I have the culinary background, things that I can do to make it faster and easier to make things. Some people just don't know how to do something. Like they might like fish if they go out to eat, but the chef is making it with a cream sauce. They don't know how to make it so the whole house doesn't smell like fish, or they don't know how to cook it, or they overcooked it and ruined it, nobody wants it, or they don't know how to get the bones out, and so they won't make it. And so sometimes just helping them, then they're able to do it on their own. And then you get, and it's even like, and even the thing you told me about when you go to the doctor, oh yeah, the 10 pounds, you got the anxiety. When I have a man and a woman come in here, and I don't tell the woman to get on the scale, okay, because that's right there is a problem.
Right.
I mean, I say to the wife or the girlfriend or whatever you want to say, do you want me to throw your husband out? And they go, and the husband's like, what do you mean throw me out? I don't understand. What do you mean throw me out? Because she might have been hiding the fact that she's 250 pounds for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? She doesn't get on the scale and have him go, you weigh 200, my friend Bubba doesn't even weigh 250 pounds. I mean, this is going to be like a long-term family issue. And now she's all uptight. She's not even want to listen to anything else because she's fighting with him about, how much she weighs. Mm-hmm. So if the wife says, oh, please, he knows how much I weigh, then I know it's okay. But I ask permission at every step. I don't just, and I think everybody that works in healthcare should do that. And if you have personal questions to ask somebody, even if you do have to enter them in the computer, don't turn your back on somebody and ask them, if they're having problems with suicidal tendencies, or ask a guy if he's got an ED problem with your back to him. You look at somebody and then turn and type it into the computer, because we're losing that connect, that individual connect. And people sometimes will do the things, whether they heard it on television or somebody told them, or the doctor said something very vague, like watch your sugars. What does that mean? Right. Look at it? What does that mean, watch my sugar? Or don't eat anything white. So does that mean I can eat as much brown pasta as I want? No. But by saying watch the white or watch your sugars, they don't give enough information. Or they'll say test your sugar every morning, and the sugar is almost the same every morning. So what do you know to do with that information? If you don't tell somebody what to do with it, they feel it's a waste of time and they don't want to bother anymore.
That is very true, because I've been told that. Watch your whites.
What does that mean, watch your whites? What does
Yeah.
that mean? I paint my room red? I mean, what does that mean? Like, tell me what that means. And you know what else today? The kids don't know how to do fractions. Okay, and the food labels are written in fractions. Like portion size will say half a cup, a quarter of a cup, a third of a cup. What if you don't know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if you tell somebody only have a half of this? What if they don't know what that means? People don't always feel comfortable, especially if they're at a point where they feel they're intelligent, to ask you a question. And you can ask anybody that's seen a young person not be able to give change when it was like $20.10. And you say, wait, I have the 10 cents. And they're like, oh my God, what do I do with 10 cents? So you know that they don't know how to do things. And so sometimes when we're teaching somebody something, Johnson & Johnson has some diabetes training programs that they do for certified diabetes educators and lots of resources on their websites. And one of the tools that they have was like confidence. So you'd ask somebody like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how important is something to you? So let's say I wanted you to quit smoking and you don't want to quit smoking. So the question would be, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to quit smoking? And you'd be like, 1.
Yes.
And then I spend the rest of my time talking about smoking. First off, you're not listening to you. You told me it's not important.
Yes.
But then if you told me it was a 10, let's say it was 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's 10. It was really important to you. And then I give you all these things. We talk and talk and talk, and you're ready to go. And I say, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you could do it? And you're like, 2. I didn't do my job because you told me it was important. And here I am, blah, 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 blah. And you'll leave it and you have no clue about how to do it.
Right.
So it's not just wanting to do something and being ready to do something. First of all, you have to want to do it, you have to be ready to do it, and then you have to have the tools to do it, and then you have to have the support to do it. And so just telling somebody lose 10 pounds or just watch your sugars or whatever, it's no tools. And there's no development going on in education there, and the person is not going to be successful.
I agree. Totally agree. Thank you. That was awesome, Marlisa, because you gave us some direction. And I try to eat healthy. I do. But like you said, sometimes I get stuck on my vegetables because I don't know how to prepare them in different ways. And so I get stuck on just those vegetables I know how to prepare, and then I get
buy the same things over and over again. You go to the supermarket, it's like, this is what I'm picking up. You buy the same things again and again.
Mm-hmm. And I get burned out on it. So yeah.
I signed up for one of those vegetable things, with the farmers. It supports the farmers. It's Consumer Support Agriculture, like a CSA. And I did it organically. But it's like a mystery basket. Like I get this basket, and sometimes there's things in there, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with that? And sometimes they give you a lot of something. Like let's say you're going to make some greens or something, but you have so much more greens. So I started I had collard wrapped sandwiches I made up last year. I made the kale chips, plus I made the kale sauteed with the eggs. Then I did the kale with the chickpeas, and I did things with things that I wouldn't have normally done because I had all that produce to use.
Wow.
So sometimes you don't have those things. You just go back and you just buy your broccoli again, or just buy your iceberg lettuce or whatever it is that you buy, and you don't venture out into the field.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yes, I love that. Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about something that I have been thinking about recently. Now, I am a bread person. I love starches. I love bread and rice, and I love pasta. But I have been thinking that I read this somewhere. So don't think
there's lots of stuff out there.
Yeah, I read this somewhere that we should give our bodies a break and eat less gluten. So I've thought about that, and I said, well, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should give up gluten. I should go gluten-free for a while and see how my body reacts. So you're going to tell us all about gluten today.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I wrote a bunch of things on that too, so I can be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it gets me upset because they have a lot of misinformation about that, and even on the news, on a major station or in a magazine, and people will read that, and then other people will think, well, that's what it should be, and it's not always the case. So first of all, I'll do the basic thing. So gluten is protein, and it's found in wheat, rye, and barley. That's where it's found. But a lot of times people that are absolutely in need of avoiding gluten, they have like derivatives of that product in other foods. So like they might have added a wheat starch to something or barley malt to something. And so even if it's not a starch, like a starch food, it might not be something they can eat. It could be a salad dressing that has gluten in it. It could be a barbecue sauce that has gluten in it. So gluten can be in many places for people that need to avoid it. And the people that absolutely need to avoid it, and there's no pill or anything at this point that could make it possible for them to have it, are people that have celiac disease, number one, and people that have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. If they even have the smallest amount of gluten, it can make them ill. And for people that have celiac disease, it's an autoimmune disease. And so even a crumb is enough to trigger their entire immune system.
Wow.
So the cross-contamination issue for those individuals is a big deal. Like if I make something and I don't change my gloves or clean the surface off, I can make somebody ill if I'm preparing the food for them. Now, there are other individuals. Now gluten, I'm going to go back 2 steps. Gluten is a protein that has more chromosomes than we have in our entire bodies. It's a little tiny thing, but it's got a huge amount of chromosomes. So in everybody that's a person, which requires all of us, it doesn't completely digest in your gastrointestinal system, and little pieces and fragments will end up in your small intestine undigested. For a large percentage of the people, it doesn't bother them at all, and it's okay. But for the genetically susceptible individuals, it can cause a problem. So there's those with the celiac, those with the non-celiac gluten sensitivity. There are people that have irritable bowel that seem to benefit from reducing certain types of carbohydrates. A matter of fact, if you were Googling later, you looked on the internet, if you looked up low FODMAP, it's like FODMAP. It's called low FODMAP. The low FODMAP diet has been helpful in about 70% of the people that have IBS, which is the irritable bowel. And gluten is one of the FODMAPs. And some people have to avoid one or more FODMAPs, depending on what their particular situation is. And then we'll take one more step. If you have people that have a gastrointestinal problem, like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, and they're having a flare-up, foods that are hard to digest or difficult to put into their bodies because they're having a problem, they may need to limit gluten as well as some other foods, possibly dairy and other foods, because they're having occurrence. So there are people that have the celiac, the non-celiac gluten sensitivity, completely avoid it. People that have irritable bowel might, with the low FODMAP, might need to reduce it. People that are on diets like the paleo diet or the lectin diet may be reducing it. There's a lot of diets out there, people are doing it for different reasons. Some people say they feel better on certain diets, even though there's no particular reason that it's been identified as being the thing that they should do. They feel better and they take it out. But in general, gluten in the diet for individuals that don't have a problem can be done in moderation. But if something's hard to digest, large amounts of anything that's hard to digest shouldn't be dumped into your body, because you're not going to feel the best when you're having foods in you that don't digest well. It just makes sense. Like if I eat really a lot of fried food, I'm not going to feel so good, because that kind of thing is hard to digest. So it's being able to understand what's going to be the most important thing for you. And then if you don't know how to do it, finding somebody that really knows about it to help you, because there are people out there. I just had an argument with somebody at day camp yesterday. I tried to behave myself, but he was being very arrogant in his response. I was calling up to educate, to help these little children. The little kids in 1st and 2nd grade, okay, and you know, they're in this day camp, parents pay $10,000, and some of them have celiac disease. And I found out from several insider sources that they weren't changing their gloves properly when they were handling their food in the kitchen. That they gave all the other kids in the camp ice cream cones, but they didn't get the gluten-free ice cream cones, so the gluten-free kids weren't getting ice cream every day. That they have these like cake baking things every week where you decorate donuts, you make s'mores, you do. They weren't getting anything for the gluten-free kids. These other 1st and 2nd grades sitting there watching the other kids having it. Inside sources, I know for a fact. So I called up, and you know they're going to ignore me when I called up. So I told them I was going to write an article about this, but I wanted to give them a chance to fix it. Well, talk about some egos coming out and some attitudes coming out. So they said they're going to fix it. So my insider sources are going to let me know if they did or if they didn't.
Yeah, that's not right.
Because these are little kids, and they could be a 10-week program in a camp, every week not getting an ice cream cone like the other kids, not making cake baking every single week, getting sick because they're not contaminated. The nurse doesn't have any gluten-free snacks in the nursing station. It's not right.
Yeah, that could create a lot of mindset issues moving forward for those children that could last them for life. That's
little kids. And he says to me, well, what are you trying to do? You trying to sell me something? You offering me free advice? So I'm not trying to sell you anything. I said, what are you saying you were going to write an article? I said, because I was angry. And then he starts talking about all the wonderful things they're doing at the camp. I just want you to fit. And he wouldn't even listen to me tell him everything. So now I'm going to write a letter and say everything, And actually, I've been on 2 radio things since I spoke to him. I didn't name the name of the camp. But I definitely am going to probably write an article about this type of a problem, what parents need to ask when they send their kids to camp.
Yes, that is a very good idea. I'm glad that you're an advocate for that. I really like that. That's not right. Yes.
It's not right. They're little kids. And in the research studies, they have found that even for adults, one of the biggest things that's going on with people that have celiac and non-celiac gluten sensitivity is there's some depression involved because social events are giving them so much anxiety. Because other people that have bad attitudes are making them feel bad about something that they actually have to do that they feel bad about already.
Right. Yeah,
so
I can see that.
That's why I wrote the book. I wrote a book for chefs just recently, the gluten-free training guides for restaurants and chefs.
Yeah.
And I wrote a whole section on blunders that I've seen. I personally have seen when they were offering things at different events and things. And when I went online to look, they didn't have other books and things like that with all the thousands of books on gluten and such. And I'm thinking that maybe the restaurants and the chefs are not getting their information from viable sources. And maybe that's why they're making so many mistakes. And not every chef and not every dietitian knows a lot about this. Some do and some don't. And so a restaurant owner might rely upon the person that they hired to think that they know everything, but not everybody knows everything. You have to get the person that specializes in that particular thing.
Right. I love that. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
I know, I get all excited about all this.
Listen, I'm always fully conscious. I try to be very, very conscious of what I eat and how I'm doing things, and I change things up. You talked about one diet may make you feel better, another. I did keto for a while and felt great doing keto. But then I always say I fell off the wagon because I am so in love. It was inevitable for it to happen, though, because I was with.
You love starch.
Yeah, I love starch.
But you have to find a meal plan that fits what you can live with.
Right.
Not I can live with what you can live with. And when you eliminate complete food groups, you are leaving out things that your body might need. You don't know exactly what your body needs, and you're not going to be able to get it in a pill. So if you can give your body a variety of things, you have a better chance of giving yourself the things that you're genetically predisposed to needing.
Right. And so I was eliminating that. There was at one point where I didn't have like breads and pastas and cereals and all this stuff for like 5 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was inevitable, and I don't regret it. So I just.
But we can we'll talk after. So we'll get you some bread in there. There's a good, healthy way. So this way you don't have to feel deprived ever again.
Yes.
People need carbohydrates. Number one fuel for your brain. Number one fuel for your muscles. When you don't have it, your body tries to convert things you eat into carbohydrates. So like your protein and your fats are trying to be changed into the needs for your carb. Body energy requires carbs. You don't eat it, your body tries to make it out of things that you eat.
Wow.
So that's how your body works. Your body has survival techniques.
Yeah.
And it tries to use them. But we shouldn't have to implore our survival techniques to be able to live. We should be able to have a variety of foods and feel good and healthy. And yes, if you want to have whatever it is, a cheeseburger on the roll once in a while, some people will tell you, well, oh no, you should never have a burger, you should never have cheese, you should never have a roll. But if that's who you are, then you need to fit it into your meal plan. Now my brother, he's a whole food plant-based eater now. This is a kid that never ate a vegetable, ever. Now he only eats vegetables. But he eats a lot of packaged things, that are like fake meat things and fake chips, things that are added. And those are not necessarily, and he's doing it for health purposes. And those are not necessarily healthy things that he's having. He's having a lot of like the instant things. They're not health foods.
Mm-hmm.
He just gave up a category of food. So he says because of our teeth, and we understand, we don't have the pointy teeth like, like a lion, like to eat meat and things like that. But like I said to him back when we weren't doing agriculture, those people that were foraging around, they probably eat bugs. I mean, I don't mean to be, but there's a lot of protein and fat in bugs. If they were going to stay alive without growing things, I bet you that was on the meal plan.
Yeah.
So we can't go back and say this is what people did when they were cavemen, and this is what people did when, because we don't really know. We only have ideas of what we think. What we do know is that certain foods are easily digestible in our bodies and are used for different purposes, and that if we can include a variety of things, we have a better chance of getting what we need.
And yes, and we are not, at least I'm not a caveman. So.
Well, I just, I don't remember that. I can't go back that far.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Now, Marlisa has a lot of free resources on her different websites. And on my podcast page, I will list those websites where you can find, I think, Marlisa, you said you had free recipes and articles. And
Yes, I've been posting. I have dining out sheets for gluten-free. I have things for restaurants to do for accommodating customers with food allergies and gluten-free. I have diabetes cooking. I have the Heart Association cooking. I have different things that you could use that you'll be able to, they can upload and read videos, cooking demos, things like that. I'll give it all to you. And like I said, I'll even give you where I'm putting on, Instagram and Facebook and putting the recipes for the vegetables. I'll give you that too.
Awesome. Love it. Marlisa, I asked you about an unusual or funny thing, and you said that you like to do voiceovers.
Sometimes.
Really?
I do sometimes, and sometimes I'm giving a presentation, like somebody will just pop in, like Mae West or Mickey Mouse, or it just comes right out. Or I'll just start talking with an accent, like I just don't know. I just make up an accent. It's not even a real accent. I was doing something about Queens, and I was like, so all the grandmothers were getting together, and they were talking about that, and I just like, so if people aren't listening to me when I'm talking, I'll be like on stage, and I'll be like, hello. Or like I was doing the Mae West, the men get a kick out of that, oh, why don't you come over? I just would do these different little things, and I could do it on for, oh, let me see if I can get her in there. Watch, I got your dinner ready for you. I'll watch you. I would just, and I'm just throwing them really quick, but I would do different voices. So like sometimes, like if nobody's like inspired enough or laughing enough for something, I'll just be throwing a voice in there. Or
I love it. That is so nice. Yes, thank you for sharing that. And one of your favorite motivational quotes, I love this. You said, work with what you have, plan for what you want so you can live what you dream.
Yes, and I wrote that one, and I like that's my favorite one.
Oh, you wrote that. That's nice. I'm going to use that and give you the credit for it.
Thank you.
Yes. And so you can find, I will put all of Marlisa's information on my website, all of her books, where you can find those and links to them. And Marlisa, it has been a huge pleasure having you here on the show today. You have given us tons of things to think about and information that we can use to get our health better. Now, I know that you have a diabetes training program that you're giving in this month. Is it this month for health coaching?
We incorporated some cardiovascular. So with the $11.99 coaches in Brooklyn, I'm doing one next. I just did one. I'm doing one this month and then next month. And we're working about motivational interviewing, working with patients for better compliance, diabetes tips, red flags, and things like that to help health coaches make it more possible for them to identify things that need to be vented to another area. And I'm very excited about it, and it's been going very well so far. And I'm hoping to do more programs like that in the future.
Oh, very nice. So health coaches out there, yeah, definitely check that out. That's in that area, or even out of town if you want to fly into New York. It's beautiful this time of year.
And I run classes, sometimes specific classes just for specific groups, like specialized private classes, where I'll get an organization together for just one particular skill to make sure that they get good at it.
So remember that Marlisa is a resource if you want to bring her into your company as well. So we're getting ready to wrap up, Marlisa, and if you would share with my audience before we leave just one specific action tip that they can put into place today, and then that they can use in their life to make better health choices?
Make small changes. Start something, even as the tiniest thing. Let's say you don't exercise, even if it's 5 minutes, start with something small, stick with it and build on it. If you go in that direction, you have a better chance of developing a habit that's going to last a lifetime.
Absolutely. I know. Yes, that was good. Very good. And I'm going to check out all of her resources myself. I want to see some of these quick things that she has, because I like quick for cooking.
And they're very Googleable. Like, so if you put Marlisa Brown in online, you can get a lot of the things just right there. I think I get like 17 pages of Google. So you can just put me in, and videos will come up, and other things that I've done will come up, and you can just click on them.
Very nice. Yeah, I want some of those quick tips, because I want to do more vegetables, and I need quick ways to make them tasty. So good. Thank you so much for coming on today, Marlisa. Thank you, audience. And this episode, you definitely want to download it. It is a keeper, because she gave us a lot of information that you can use over and over and over again. Thank you. Have a great week, and I'll see you on the next episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives. Bye. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Inspired Women, Amazing Lives podcast, where we help women to be truly inspired to live their most amazing lives. Please subscribe to the podcast to be notified of new content each and every week. Feel free to like, comment, and share with a woman who inspires you most. I hope to see you on the next episode. Goodbye.